September 28th, 2024, Saturday. And it was quite a tough week for me because I'm currently suffering from a lot of back pain. It's an old injury from over 20 years ago. And every now and then it occurs and then I struggle a bit. And this is one of the episodes that fall under the 1% rule. So 99% of my time, it is fun and I focus on the podcast and I love it. And this is one of the few episodes where I really had to force myself to record it because, my back, We have 14 topics this week, so it's a lot, and I will hurry a bit so I don't have to stand too long. Nevertheless, it was an interesting week. Fortunately, my bubble, my wine bubble, my alcohol-free bubble on LinkedIn, on Instagram is barely talking about the P. Diddy thing, and we will definitely not do that in this episode, and maybe not in general, unless there is effects on the wine industry or maybe on the brands he's related to. But there were many bangers this week in the wine and drinks industry. It's about cheese, it's about climate change, it's about Thieves that stole over 3,000 bottles of Rhone wine, and innovations in brands, in marketing, and also in wine bottling. So let's start right into it. Have fun. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 196. And we start with the hottest news of the week. And the first one is a cheese that was 3,600 years old, found in a mummy tomb in Asia. And scientists discovered the mummies, when was it, 2012, over 10 years ago? Or even in the 1990s. And right now through DNA analysis and stuff, they figured out that the white substance that was close to the mummies in the tomb was cheese. And of course they cut some small slices and they tried it, and it was tasting like old cheese, the people said in the interview, and quite salty and super dry and also a bit sour. But the interesting fact was that it was made very, very similar to the cheese we know today. And they used a specific kind of bacteria to produce it. It's a lactic acid bacteria, basically, and quite close to the ones we still use today. I mean, it's always interesting to see things from history, how we used to make wine or cheese or food in general over 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years ago. And in addition, isn't that crazy to try a cheese that is so old? I mean, of course, they did some research on it and they figured out at least nobody would die when they try it. But isn't it crazy to be a scientist working with stuff like that? I guess I would love to do that. We talked about the winery they found over 2,000 years ago with where there was still wine in some of the amphoras. They were able, or they wanted to try, but they figured out it won't be a good idea because of what was it, quicksilver and stuff? I can't remember it correctly, but usually before they try it, of course, they do some research on it, put it under the microscope. I don't know. I would love to be part of stuff like that. Crazy, lovely. Coming from the good stuff to some bad news as well. As a loyal listener, we are not fans of bad news, but sometimes we have to talk about it, especially when they impact the wine industry. There were severe thunderstorms and floods in the area of Tuscany, northern Spain, and southern France. And especially Bolgheri was heavily affected by that. I discovered this for the first time on the Instagram account of James Suckling because, he was in the area and it was just crazy. Look at the floods were just wow. And Bolgheri received 200 liters in 1 hour. And just to give you a feeling for numbers, usually they have 600 over the whole year. And this was just in 1 hour. It was absolutely crazy. 200 milliliters in 1 hour per square meter. And many vineyards suffered from that. There is some pictures. Look at this over here. The good thing is that due to an early season, Bolgheri had started the harvest in August already. So 80% of the grapes had already been harvested. 20% were still out in the countryside, in the vineyards. And yeah, I mean, look at those pictures. It's damaged vineyards, damaged tractors, and wow, I really feel with the people over there. Fortunately, no people were harmed. Bolgheri is not usual for events like that. We talked about many floods and stuff over the last 2 years on this podcast. Another region that was heavily affected was Rioja. The harvest partly drowned because they started later than Bolgheri, and many wineries and winemakers really struggled in bringing their wines, their grapes to the winery, because especially in the flat area of Rioja, where the rivers are flowing, they had so many floodings, so many flooded streets, roads, highways, that they weren't able to bring the grapes to the wineries. It was not as bad as in Bolgheri. They only had 56 milliliters in 1 hour, but still affected. And it was almost 1 week ago. This was September 21st and 22nd. And Bolgheri, the news were by Suckling were 23, 24. So very, very heavy. Yeah, it will have an impact on yields, on the production, of course, and maybe also on the prices. We see that. On the other side, usually, we talked about this in recent episodes, the lower the yields, the higher the quality usually is, but this has nothing to do with concentration in the grapes, because you just harvest lower amount of grapes. So it's just less wine available. Maybe this is also good, especially when it comes to the entry-level quality. The region of Rhône fortunately didn't see any floods, thunderstorms, but another severe event that happened in the northern Rhone area. Thieves broke into one of the top Rhone producers, Les Vins de Vienne. It's a collaborative winery run by big names, Villard, Cuiron, and Gaillard. And actually, I know the wines of Yves Cuiron quite well. I really love his Viognier. To me, he's one of the quality producers I really like, where the wines are still very affordable and of very high quality. So just the price value level is really good. And somebody broke into the warehouse and stole 2,300 bottles of wine. They were dedicated to the Canadian market, so at least they're easier to spot because the labels are written in English. It's a black label, and some have already been discovered in France, so hopefully they will be able to catch the thieves. The interesting thing is that this hasn't been the first time that somebody broke into the winery. The winery is quite isolated in the countryside, in the south of Condrieu, so the very famous region of northern Rhone. Previously, a winery truck was lifted from the domain. So sometimes it's good to be in a quiet place, and sometimes it's bad. Talking about bottles, not stolen ones, but newly produced ones. There is a Green Gen bottle. It's one of the lightest wine bottles ever released. It's made of paper and a plastic bag inside. So it basically looks like a bag-in-box. And just to be clear on that, it just looks like that, because there was an article in Der Winzer in Austria claiming that this is a bottle working like a bag-in-box. But bag-in-box means it is vacuum sealed and you can just pour it for weeks or for months from the bag-in-box. It's just a plastic container, vacuum sealed. No oxygen is exchanged, but in that case, it's just a paper bottle where the plastic bag within the bottle just ensures that the wine doesn't dilute the paperboard of the bottle. Last year, I visited a company in England that produces quite similar stuff. You can choose as a winery either to put a cork or a screw cap on it, but this also means once opened, you have the exchange of oxygen, and of course, then the maturation process is the same with normal bottles, glass bottles. Nevertheless, interesting thing, and when it comes to recycling, the lower part is made of paperboard and the upper part is made of plastic. You can separate the cardboard neck and the main section from each other and then throw each item into appropriate recycling bins. Cardboard and plastic. I don't know if this could be the future of high quality wine, because last year we visited the company in England and many use cases popped up in my head for olive oil, for entry level wines, and for many other products, maybe also non-alcoholic products. But when we talk about fine wine, let's say, or at least high quality wine, good wine, where you associate a bit of quality, at least with the labeling, with the look and feel of the bottle, sitting around 15 euro plus on the shelf, it could be tough to sell wines in a bottle like that. Those bottles look higher sophisticated compared to the ones from England. And where is this? The surface looks a bit like, the surface is more stylish actually. This is something I could imagine with high quality wine. I mean, you have to see it in person actually, because I mean, you can take good pictures of stuff that is not looking like in real life. Maybe I'll get the chance, but at least this one looks of higher quality. So cardboard and flax bottle. Put the link in the show notes if you're interested in stuff like that, and maybe in the future we will see more of it. The launch date is for October, set for October, and it's not the first one, but one more in the market. When we're talking about crazy marketing campaigns, we recently talked about brands entering the market with very specific campaigns. We talked about Hungary going to South Korea with influencer marketing, social media flooding and stuff, because it is the market of the future. And the next 4 to 5 news are focused on the Asian, especially in the South Asian market, because it's one of the most vibrant markets in Asia when it comes to alcoholic and non-alcoholic products. At first, we start with Singapore. The very, very famous Vivino application goes offline, meaning they want to strengthen their brand by opening an offline store. Meaning you can go to the store, you can shop over 100 wines that are rated 4 stars or more in the Vivino app and just take them home. And in addition, Michelin star chefs are in place that can serve you some tapas, some food if you want to pair your wine with. A really interesting concept. They had an interview with the founder, Heini Zachariasen, and I mean, he's a very, very interesting guy. If you're interested in his story, there's a really good documentary on the founding of the early years of Vivino and the expansion and stuff on, where was it? It's either Netflix or Prime, I don't know, but just Google the story of Vivino and it's super impressive. And this guy says, of course, we built the Vivino app to help people find the best wine. And right now, for the first time ever, we want to open the store to offer those wines to the people. Vivino claims to be the world's largest online marketplace. They have almost 70 million people on the application, rating wines, buying wines, and 250,000 alone are in Singapore, with a population of 6 million. So this is a high percentage, actually. And maybe this is the reason for opening the first store over there. There's another one in Copenhagen at the airport where you can buy 4-star plus wines in the store over there. So Vivino is basically aiming to establish itself as a brand that is associated with higher quality. And maybe in the future, they will even focus more on selling wine. We don't know. This is also what Meiningas wrote in the article. It remains uncertain whether the main focus of this initiative is on brand expansion, community building, wine sales, or something entirely different. We will find out in the future. It is definitely a very, very big thing for such an application going offline. We stay in Asia, as I said, and the Hungarian Wine Institute is focusing on the next big market. We recently talked about the campaign in South Korea, one of the markets besides Thailand and China in South Asia. And right now, China is the next one. And what are they doing? I mean, they have identified China as a very, very big and high potential market, but also quite complex. And I mean, some marketing agencies or marketing institutes for wine regions, for example, Australian wine marketing, they did so many things right over the last year. You can really adopt and learn from their faults as well. So what are they doing? They focused on communication, on tastings, on seminars. They involve masters of wines for holding the tastings. They partner up with influencers in WeChat or in Red, two very big social media platforms. I mean, WeChat, almost everything happens in WeChat in China. And Red, some people know it under Xiaohongshu. It's usually said to be the Instagram for China because it's a social media and online shopping platform. Let's put it like this. And the sign is a red one, so this is why it's called Red. And almost everything happens over there. So if you have influencers starting or doing campaigns for you on those two platforms, this could be really successful. One of the biggest factors for the success of Australian wines in China was that they launched their own application for Australian wine in WeChat because the access to Australian wine was so much easier. You were even able to educate yourself on Australian wines. And this is happening right now with Hungarian wines. And I mean, for me personally, there is two countries where you can say that the price value of the wines is absolutely amazing. One is Portugal and the other one is Hungary. And right now Hungary is trying to bring their wines to the Chinese market. It's just smart, and it's the second one, and we will see many afterwards, I guess, because one started in Asia and people are discovering that Hungarian wines are a thing. There is high quality, the prices are very affordable, and it's also usually products that are crafted. Many wines I know from Hungary have this crafted style. I mean, there's cooperatives and also entry-level wines, but when it comes to high quality, the density, especially in the area between 10 and 20 euro, is absolutely amazing. So just have a look at Hungarian wines if you haven't had before. The next big thing is a trade deal between the UK and Thailand. And this is a big deal for both sides, for the UK and for Thailand as well. It will be easier to bring food and drinks from one country to another. It can just happen digitally right now, not with stamps from the embassies. And of course, there is some brands that are discovering that this is a very, very big opportunity for their businesses. I mean, Diageo, all the Scotch producers, it will be way easier to export the products right now. And we are currently talking about a market of $70 million plus. So it is expected that the removal of this barrier will be worth around 40 to 7 million pounds. It's a huge impact for the UK industry. Thailand is the second biggest economy in Southeast Asia, and is also interested in going to the UK. So for both sides, a big deal. And Deborah Crew, we talked about Deborah Crew. She's the chief executive at Diageo, says, this is fantastic. I mean, we have Johnny Walker, with Talisker, Singleton, and it would be so much easier to bring it over there. And there's a huge potential to grow, especially in that category. And talking about Scotch and a brand that really can profit from that, Adrington has announced that it sold the Famous Grouse. If you don't know, it's a Scotch with a red or brown label with a grouse on it. And it was sold to William Grant. And right now, if you're not super deep into the business, Adrington is the company that owns Macallan and Glenrothes. They had a revenue of $1.5 billion last year, and they sold it to Grant, which owns Grant's, Glenfiddich, and Balvenie. And why is this so interesting? Because Adrington is one more big player focusing on premium and ultra premium wines, or in that case spirits, selling the, let's say, entry-level priced brands to a competitor. And Grant says there's a huge potential for Famous Grouse. It really fits in our product portfolio. And on the other side, Adrington says it's amazing for us. We want to focus more on ultra premium. And it's getting more and more obvious that this ultra premium, or at least premium focus, is getting bigger and bigger. Maybe some of the brands are already reacting on declining alcohol sales, or they also discovered that, I mean, you have to think about premium, mid-range, and entry-level pricing, but maybe it is tougher to sell the mid-range rather than the premium and the very entry-level. Talking about big brand deals, this one is cross-country, cross-portfolio, cross-category collaboration the champagne house Billecart-Salmon partners up with the alcohol-free brand Jukes. And I guess most of our listeners are familiar with Billecart-Salmon, a very famous champagne brand, over 200 years old, family-owned, still great quality. I really like their products. The branding is absolutely amazing. And on the other side, we have the alcohol-free brand Jukes, launched by the former famous wine writer Jukes from England. And this is a product, or these are products I have tasted in May in England during the London Wine Fair. And what shall I say? The branding is absolutely amazing. The quality is freaking good. Price value is okay, but I mean, it's served in cans. It's a very good premium alternative to still and sparkling wines. Really well made, and it's even, the branding is so good in cans that it is even served in Michelin star restaurants. And right now, Champagne House Billecart-Salmon discovered there is a huge opportunity in alcohol-free products. We have to jump into the market. We should do so. So they partnered up with Jukes, who knows the wine industry quite well through his writings over the last 30 years. Right now, he's able to use the network of Billecart-Salmon. Billecart-Salmon is the distributor for the product outside of the UK, and it's a big deal for both sides. It's not the first company from Champagne that discovers the growing interest in alcohol-free products, but at least this is a big partnership for the industry, especially in Central Europe, and we will see way more of those partnerships in the future, because it totally makes sense, actually. Talking about alcohol-free success, Anheuser Busch has launched their next alcohol-free beer. And just to give you a feeling of what is currently happening, especially in the US and in the American beer market, Bud Light has always been the most successful beer in the US. And the second one was the Modelo, and the third one was Michelob. And then last year, we had the advertisement gone wrong with the influencer, and Bud Light was declining in sales, and Modelo gained the first place in the biggest beer brand of the US. And right now, they even fell down to the third place because Michelob Ultra is the second biggest beer brand in the United States according to sales. And right now, they have launched their alcohol-free alternative. There is a huge potential for alcohol-free beer, and there will be many more in the future. And this one has recently been launched in the US, typical blue color. 0.0 is on the label. So it's not less than 0.5. 0.0 is on the label, so quite low in alcohol. 29 calories, also with a focus on a low-calorie product in sales and marketing. Let's see what will happen with the alcohol-free beer industry in the US. It's predicted to be very, very big over the next years. The biggest one so far is Athletic Brewing, a company that gained in value over the last 8 years. They even made it to the Forbes magazine with a valuation of, $800 million. Absolutely crazy, and it will be a very big thing in the future. And I mean, when we talk about Germany, the German market, every 10th beer in Germany is alcohol free right now. And just imagine those numbers in the US. It's a huge market. It's a $1 billion market. The next one is a really funny and also very, very cool video I've spotted on Instagram on the account of The Guardian. The Happiness Project. It's a project that was launched with a care home in Deerhurst in England, where the old people are brewing beer together, drinking it together, and trying to fight the dementia. And the video is called How Making Beer Can Help People Living with Dementia. And I mean, dementia is a thing, especially when people turn older. I would say 70 plus. No scientific background on that, but people stop remembering things, especially short-term related things. And I press play on the video. The link is in the show notes. They brew beer together in that home, from harvesting the hops to the brewing process, and everything is documented with photos, with videos. And when the beer is ready, they of course can drink it together, and then they have a look on the pictures. So look at you, this was you brewing beer 2 weeks ago. And in that way, they're trying to train their brains to remember at least something of the last 2 weeks. And friendships are grown. There's a community, and of course, those people, especially in the retirement homes, sometimes it's tough to have fun in your last days on the planet, but this looks real fun. I really love that project, and it's also supported by the University of Bristol, and it's just amazing. It's super cool. Maybe some people take it as an idea and try to launch it somewhere else. I really love the idea. Last two news of the week belong to the Celebrity Corner. Both are related, closely related to the NBA. First of all, we have talked about many NBA players entering the wine space in the industry. So blending their own wines, making their own wines, or at least having partnerships with wines. And Donovan Mitchell, a guy from the Cleveland Cavaliers, he recently had an apprenticeship in crafting wines in Napa Valley. The company is called, or the winery was called The Prisoners. They're quite open to that. And of course, they also want to use the popularity of the players for marketing reasons and stuff. And Donovan says, I was really into wine. I wanted to learn about it. And I learned so much in the last weeks or months or years that even the younger ones are consulting me right now. And there's many players in the US that are said to be related to drinks industry, to the wine industry, or at least to loving wine, collecting wine. We made an episode on that. Right now, Donovan Mitchell is entering the space and maybe having his own Napa Valley blend in the future. We will see. And the other guy is no other than LeBron James, who launched a collaboration with Hennessy Cognac. And basically, it's the same product as usual. So the same Hennessy blend. You all know there's a labeling, a very specific, a very special edition labeling with the face of LeBron James held in a reddish tone. So LeBron James right now is part of the Hennessy family, as they call it. And the article said that LeBron James is someone who redefines boundaries in sports, style, culture, and beyond. Hennessy is a very well-known brand in the US, especially when it comes to hip-hop, to sports that are related to hip-hop, and the identification with brands, especially like Hennessy, is quite a big thing. And of course, if you have testimonials such as LeBron James for your brand, it's easier to sell, it's easier to enter the market. They are role models, not only for sports, but for a whole industry. And it could be a big push for your sales numbers if you have a person like LeBron James on board. What shall I say? You know that I'm not a big fan of partnerships, especially with strong alcohol spirits and sports. I'm not able to do anything against it. I can only say I don't like it. It totally makes sense when it comes to marketing and sales and the perspective for the future, but sports and spirits, it's a weird combination, isn't it? That's it for this week, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. See you on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.